In SQL Server, if you want to store any type, like any kind of data, you should assign some data type to that. Data type. Best example. If you want to store some year format, then you will assign a data type called date. If you want to store your age, like if you want to store year, only year. Year means you'll have 2013, 2014, 2015, anything. For this, you can give some data type, nothing but the small int. Okay, and next, if you want to store some amounts also there are different types. You might have amounts up to 2 decimals. You might have amounts up to 4 decimals. You might have amounts up to 6 decimals too. Then you will be using a data type called numeric or decimal. When you want to store some names will always have characters, right? Then you will use a data type called varchar or character. Both are the same, but we will see the difference between them, varchar and character. And this all the system knows which one is what. If you get some special case where if you get some special character where the system doesn't know, okay, and this name characters will have the non-unicode character, non-unicode. And if you have some names where you want to store some special character which the system doesn't understand, then you use the data types called nvarchar or nchar. Both are same. Okay, depending on your requirement, you will use the data types. We'll go one by one. So if you want, you can make a note for just you can take a screenshot. I'll giving 15 seconds. Let me know once you are done. Yeah. Okay. So everyone is done? Hello?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Now, basically, the data types are categorized into different types. The first one is numeric, which will have all the integers and everything. Next, you'll have the date type, like date related stuff. Okay. I'll say date and date time. Both are different. Like whichever is related to date, you can store date also. There are different formats. I'll just write date. Okay. Date data types. And after that, you'll also have the character data type. Character means if you want to store any character, then you use the character data types. And after that, you got the binary data type. Binary data type. Binary data type means you'll have the 0 and 1. That is nothing but the binary data type. I'll use when do you use the binary data type? Binary data type. I'll write it anyway. Give me 1 minute, sorry. So first one is a numeric. Next one is a date. Third one is a characters, and then you got the binary. Next, others. Numerics means if you want to store any data like integers, year, you'll use a data type called integer. If you want to store any amounts, 20.03, then you'll use a data type called numeric. Numeric, float. You also have a data type called money. You also have a data type called decimals. Okay, each one has its own limitations. Numeric, and I'll say this is a numeric. Numeric and decimals are the same. Float means it will have some it will store the more number of decimal places. Money means it will only store up to 4 decimal places. Okay, so you can just Google it and you'll get more information if you want to learn them, okay, regarding them, how they are being stored at the back end. Date means you can store the date like this, 2013-0101. This is a one format. You can also store the date in different. Okay, assume this is a 12th is a month. Okay, 01 is a date. Okay, you might have some date with this 2013, 12th month, 31 date. And there may be a situation where you'll be storing the month before. Okay, you'll have the date before and you'll have the month before, month after the date. This way. And there may be a situation where you'll be storing the first you'll be storing as a date, next you'll be storing as a month, next is a year. And you can also store the date this way too. You can also store the date 2013-0101. Then you'll have the hours here. Hours means 9 o'clock, 56 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay. Then you'll also have the same date with the hours as 9, 56, 30 with milliseconds up to 3 places. Then you can have the milliseconds up to 6 places. So each one varies. Next, with the character. If you want to store any names, if you want to store any descriptions, if you want to store any characters in a field, then you'll use the characters. Okay. Binary is nothing but if you want to store any 0 and 1s, bits and 0 and 1s is a kind of bits. If you want to store any bits, then use a binary. The best example for a binary is that whenever you want to store the image in a SQL server, you can't store image where you have if you declare the data type as character, you can't store the image in that. If you want to store the image, you should always declare it as a where binary. Okay, where binary is one where you can store the image, and when you store it at the backend, the image is being stored in 0 and 1 format. Okay, that is nothing but the binary. Others is apart from the normal databases, it's a normal data type. You also have cursors. You also have the table variable. Okay, and then you also have the row version. There are different data types. Okay, so these are other databases these are other data types that you have on the SQL server. So we'll go with one by one. Numeric. So for numeric, what I do, I'll go with the table. Okay, I'll create table name. I'll create as a data types dt. Then I'll create one column with the ID as integer because it can store the integer. Next, for the numeric, I'll create as salary. Salary I'll give decimal 16, 2. What 16, 2 means? Total values I can store up to 16. Out of the 16, I can have the 2 as decimals. So this is one. When I have the numeric with the numeric or decimals, both are same. So if I say like 3, 2, it means that I'll have 3 spaces. Out of these 3 spaces, I can store only up to 2 decimals. Like 3.02, 3.01, I can't store because it will also count dot as a space. Since I have given 3, the total size including the dot will count here. Okay, if it is 3. If I give 3.32, I can only store 0.02. That's it, 0.01. If I want to store 3.01, then the total size should be 4. So it is nothing but 4, 2. So one space will be used for the dot. That is a dot which separates the number and the decimal. That is 3.01. Okay. So I want to store up to 2 decimals. Done. Next, I want to store a name of a person. Name I'll give the varchar. Okay, varchar of 10. So you can also give the character also. I'll explain the difference between the character and varchar. Okay, next you will have the address. Assume that address uh, address 1. Okay, address 1 might be they might enter address from different countries or different states, so you might expect some special characters in that which the system doesn't know. Then you can use nvarchar. Okay, I'll give address as 100, name I'll give 20 because most of the people they'll have big names, so I'll give 20. Then I'll give the join date. In order to store the join date, I need the format called date and time. So that is the date time. Okay? Are you able to get this? Hello? So
Yeah.
this is the data types I'll be using when I create a table. So first I'll add the column name, then I'll give the data type. Based on this data type only, you can store the information. If you give something called varchar 20, you can't store more than 20 characters. It will allow only to store 20 characters, not more than that. So whenever if you enter more than 20, it will throw an error. Okay? Same with the date time. Date time means whenever you give the date time, it will have this format. Year, next, month. So we'll go with the current date. Year, month, date, and the time. Time is 10, right? It will go in the 24-hour format. So 24-hour format means 22. 22. Then 01 is a minute. And then it will have the seconds. Let's say second is okay, it got changed to second minute, right? Second is 25, and after that it will have the milliseconds up to 2, up to 3 decimals. That's it. And if you give the date time to, then it will store up to 3 milliseconds, 6 decimals, 6 places of milliseconds. Okay, and this is what I have. Then so you are good with ID, salary, address. You are good with the join date. I'll explain the difference between this both two, varchar character and nvarchar. So this might be an interview question. At the beginning, in the older versions, when they have created the databases, and you might have seen in the older versions of the coding languages too, in order to store any characters, they use the data type called character. But later on, they've invented one more called varchar. This is the latest one. So difference between both of them is, okay. So same exactly what I think I covered one example. So if we have, let's take, I use a character as 10, I have given the varchar as 10. Okay, I'll not go with the 10, I'll go with the short one. I have given the character as, I can say, character as 3 fields, varchar also 3 fields. So when I give, automatically what happens? 3 bytes of space will be allocated to that. Here, let's assume I have used only 2 bytes. Here I have used only for the column which I have declared varchar, I have used 2 bytes, 2 spaces, and for character I have used 2 spaces. So here, even I'm not using this one. I'm not at all using this one in the character, this in the varchar. But in the varchar, even though since you are not using this space can be used by someone else, because as you are not using, this can be used by others. But in the character, even though if you're not using, this cannot be used by others. It should only use by this column, that's it. It cannot be used by the others. Even though you are not using, that's it. You can't use it. Once it is allocated means it is allocated. You can't use unused space for other purpose. Even though there is no data in the unused space, it will not do anything. It will just ignore the other request. It will that only unused space should be only used by the column where it was allocated to. But in the varchar, if you don't unuse that, that can be used by the other process. Okay? Hello? Everyone is clear with this? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, So in the character and varchar, and there's one more called nvarchar. Sorry, I'll go with nchar, nvarchar. Okay. So nvarchar and nchar and nvarchar is, in the character it will only store the numbers or characters, anything whatever the system is able to understand, system knows them, then you can insert it. You might get some issues where the system doesn't understand them. Then you have to create the change the data type as nchar, and then you have to store that in this nchar format. Same varchar, nvarchar too. In the older version, people used to use character and nchar, but nowadays you should always use the varchar because it has all the features as a character. The only one thing is that it has advantages. It has some features that are not in the character. The features are the unused space can be used by others. Okay, that is the additional advantage of the varchar. So nowadays all the systems you can see the varchar and nvarchar, but in the older system you still see character and nchar because they don't have the varchar format. Are you able to get my point? Okay. Hello. And one more thing is that one more important thing, in the character, whatever the size is, it uses for storing one character. The varchar nvarchar uses a double the size than that. Okay, so that's the reason. If you know that the data doesn't have any special symbols, always prefer creating varchar, not the nvarchar, because nvarchar occupies a double the size than the varchar. Okay. Hello. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'll do, I'll try to insert some data into a table. I'll connect this database to SQL Maze 2016. I'll insert the data into a table. So insert into DT. Then I'll insert the column. First one is ID, right? Values. First one is the ID. ID is integer, so I can create anything. Okay. I'll give some integer. Done. Next, salary. Salary I'll give salary. Okay. It is something like this up to I'll give up to 4 decimals. Even though I given 2 decimals, I'll give, okay, I'll give 2 decimals now. Next time I'll change it. Name ABC. Address, date. I want to store the same date. Okay, I want to store the current date. I can give the current date in this format. Always the date should be in the quotes. If you don't give in the quotes, then it will system will throw an error, because when system tries to compile it, you will check with the date. Okay, it will say, okay, this is not the valid one, so it will throw an error. Always dates and characters should give in the quotes. And one more thing, if you don't know the, if you it will be very hard to write the current date, right? Or else simple, you can give get date. That also works. Get date is nothing but is a current date in the system. It will just take the current date, it will insert in that. Okay, now I'll insert the data into a table. Now see, select star from DT. When I select it, now you can see the data. Okay, even though I have given the get date, it took the current date 22:59. So 22:08, 59 second and milliseconds. Okay, you can see the salary here. You can see the integer ID. Now what I'll do, I'll insert the data with more. Okay, it is more than the integer. Okay, it is more than the integer, so I'll insert this. Then I'll try to insert some decimals more than that. Okay, and in the date means date time means it will also have time. I'll not insert the time. I'll just insert date 2016 dash 05 dash 26. Okay, I'll try to insert. I am not inserting any time. When I try to execute this, The first error I'll be getting is that even though it is integer, I'm trying to insert some big data. It's a big int. That's the reason it is throwing an error. So what I'll do, I'll remove some data. So now I'll be able to insert it. Okay. Now nothing will happen. I'll not get any error. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, okay. Yeah, it should be up to 9 places. Okay. Okay. Now the data will be inserted. Now when I do the DT, right? Remember, this record I have given up to this many decimals. Okay, up to 5 decimals I have given. What system does? Automatically it rounds the data up to 2 decimals until it will give it here. Can you see this? Even though I have given 4 decimals, it will not care. It will not throw an error. It will convert it. It will try to convert itself. So it will able to convert. It will round that into up to 2 decimals and then it will store. Same you can see the date. Date I didn't give any time and anything. But still, since I have not given it by default, it has given the time as 00000. So everyone is clear with this? Hello?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. So that's it. So this is regarding the SQL Server data types. Okay? So, yeah. Tomorrow I'll give some I'll so practice on them. Tomorrow I'm going to write some queries and see whether I'll ask you guys whether the queries are whether the query will execute successfully or not. That's what I'm going to ask you guys. Okay, based on that, I'll give marks.